Hello, welcome to another edition of DBE TV News. You can watch this bulletin on the DBE TV News YouTube channel, the DBE YouTube channel, and on OpenView channel 122. I am Tsehohajo Moahi. In our top stories, menstrual supplies for girl learners in all schools under the spotlight once again in Parliament. Business leaders encouraged to invest in the basic education sector. And food poisoning continues to cause concern in the basic education sector. The Department of Basic Education says it takes the provision of menstrual hygiene products for girls seriously, even though this function is not solely the responsibility of the department. Officials from the department, led by Minister Sivue Gwahube and Deputy Minister Dr. Regina Mhaule, briefed Parliament on this matter following a petition brought to Parliament by Team Free Sanitary Pads and the I_Menstruate movement. Director General Matanzima Mweli and Liko Bottoman, Director of Social Cohesion and Equity, were also in attendance.
Part of the reason why, even though we may not have a budget line item that sits with DBE, but we take the function seriously and have done some work to try and address this, even though, of course, the budget in itself of providing free sanitary products sits elsewhere. And so in terms of this, some of the things that we've done and some of the areas that we are focusing on is firstly integrating menstruation education through what we call in the department comprehensive sexuality education. And so here, this is about essentially infusing the understanding of what is happening to young girls within the curriculum, which we believe is important. I think even before we start talking about access to sanitary products, we also need to make sure that learners are understanding what is happening in their body, why it is happening, and how do they look after themselves. And so the first thing that we have done is infuse this in the comprehensive sexuality education so that it is embedded within the curriculum. And it also is equipping not just girl learners, but it's equipping all learners with the necessary knowledge so that it can start to reduce stigma, because that is a big problem that we've seen, particularly that our girls would face. Then the second thing we've done in collaboration with the Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, we're implementing the Sanitary Dignity Implementation Framework, what they call the SDIF, which including targeted sanitary pad distribution in selected schools. And the idea there is to develop a framework so that that department may be able, as I said, because the budget line item doesn't necessarily sit with us, but for us to be able to work closely with them so that we can be able to say, you have access to our schools so that you can have access to our learners.
Meanwhile, Dr. Mhaule says the department will be strengthening their relationship with the sister departments to ensure no learner is left behind.
We are going to improve on the strengthening of the collaboration with the sister departments as well as the partners who come to us, that there should be no gap and all the learners must be assisted. Social development sometimes will argue that we give them this grant until the age of 18 so that they are able to purchase this, because even the level of poverty is not the same in the families. Some families, that child support grant, it buys the whole maize meal and everything, so the child cannot afford to buy any dignitary pack. But in other families, the grandmother is getting the social grant and the other siblings, etc. Then they combine these things, they are able to support one another. So the level is just not the same. And of course, the parents are able to cater for everything.
This was also reiterated by Director General Matanzima Mweli.
The Minister and Deputy Minister would have indicated that we work with with the private sector, we work with broader civil society. Maybe we need to stop and reflect and say, what is the scale of the need out there? And I also embrace the notion of working with these two organizations immediately as our homework. I'm going to call them so that we put our heads together and say, what is the scale of the need out there? And how far have we gone to provide for that need? And who else can help us to get close to 100% in providing for that need? Bringing other government departments such as social development, Department of Women, Youth and Persons with Disabilities, and other entities that might be doing this work, and say, how far are we in meeting the need of those who are out there?
Let us partner and work together to ensure we give our children the best. These are words from Basic Education Minister Sibuwe Gwagube during the Partnerships for Education Business Breakfast. The event was designed to foster meaningful dialogues and establish partnerships to alleviate budgetary constraints in the education sector. It also provided an opportunity to explore ways in which businesses can contribute to educational development with a focus on innovative solutions to enhance learning outcomes, infrastructure, and resource access for South African schools. Gwagube highlighted the 5 priorities for the 7th administration, which are to improve access to and strengthen the quality of ECD, to improve literacy and numeracy across all phases of schooling, special education, accelerated teacher development, and safety in schools.
The reason why I'm articulating these priorities to you is because I'm inviting you to this journey along with us. The journey of saying, this is where the greatest need is. Sometimes we can have partners who say, I want to do this. I want to be your partner, but I have a specific project that I want to do. I want to say to you, I'm inviting you to journey with us and assist us where the greatest need is. We have to improve our safety in schools. We have to make sure we develop our teachers. We have to make sure that we improve literacy and numeracy in South Africa. And we have to make sure that we are investing in the foundations of learning. And if you can come along on that journey with us there, I truly believe that we can shift the needle. And as Dr. Kosa said, the important thing is to understand that we can't be, and I said to the DG and the team yesterday, we had a whole day meeting yesterday, and I said to them, we can't be an education system of interventions. Interventions are not strategies. An intervention is a short-term solution to a crisis. We have to look at the education sector as a continuum, from 0 to 18, literally from the time a child is born to the time they leave our education system into further education and training. But we can't be stitching together an education system with interventions. So what I'm saying is, I'm asking for your partnership, but I'm saying partner along with us to invest in the system.
She went on to speak about the importance of the partnership between businesses and the department.
I want to emphasize that the task of delivering good quality education in our country is not the task of government alone, nor is it yours in its isolation. We lead the charge, we partner along with all of you, and it's a shared responsibility. And I do believe that we can make an impact and we can shift the needle. Because we owe it to the 13.5 million learners in our system, 500,000 teachers across 25,000 schools. We owe it to them. And as our country is going through great financial difficulties, so is our government. So I want to assure you that your partnership, 1, is valued. Number 2, that it will be utilized for the best use. And also number 3, that it will go towards ensuring that we shift the needle quickly in our education sector.
Business Leadership South Africa says they are ready to work even closer with the department to assist to produce quality education for all learners.
So the partnership between basic education and business is an important one. And I think earlier on, in terms of the stats that were shared by the NECT, they spoke about the fact that 10 billion rands of profits after tax from various businesses goes towards education. 26% of the CSI spend of many businesses goes towards education, and that is important. It's important because obviously these learners who are in basic education today are employees of our businesses for tomorrow. They are customers of the businesses that will lead for tomorrow. But I think the engagement with the minister today was very important because she wanted to outline what the key 5 priorities for the department are. And I think that clarity of thought for me from a business perspective is very important because it says that the minister is very clear in terms of what success looks like for the department. She's very clear about what the problem statement is. She's very clear about where the department should be allocating the minimal and scarce resources that they have. She's very clear, about what, the next 5 years, is actually supposed to be focusing on. What was actually quite impressive for me is her emphasis on quality. The fact that as much as 98% of our kids can have access to education, now the second bit that we need to focus on is how do we ensure that education is quality education. So she speaks about the fact that it is a tragedy that we have so many kids who can't read for meaning, and she's saying unless and until we address the issue of quality, that issue is actually not going to be addressed. So I really think that we're focusing on the right things. I really think that, the fundamentals that need to be in place for basic education, the minister is definitely introducing it. She speaks about the importance of early childhood development, because if we miss it there, it is no use to try and have, matriculants who are actually going to be focusing on the right subjects and are actually going to be having the right content when we have actually missed it in early childhood development.
Meanwhile, Empower Works, which was also in attendance, said they are excited to partner with the department.
Empower Works has been on a relentless drive to connect young people to opportunity through strategic partnerships and really doing a rallying call for the private sector, the public sector and civil society, and also, promoting civic youth engagement, volunteerism for young people, and really trying to quicken and revitalize the energy of healthy youth, habits and connecting to the community. So this session was incredibly inspiring just to see that causal link between the basic education system and how we facilitate these pathways for young people to softly land into community whilst they wait for their next, and just the resolutions that the minister has put on the table around mental health interventions, around food security interventions, bringing into the fold learners living with disabilities and different other special needs, and really being inclusive in that outlook. It really gives us hope, and that call that she's made to business to sponsor the progress of young people and create an equal footing is something that Empower Works through Empower Youth, one of its divisions, is so excited about, and we can't wait to also have our hand at play in that space.
Infrastructure remains a top priority for the Department of Basic Education, and to this end, Minister Sibuye Gwagube and Deputy Minister Dr. Regina Mhaule visited several educational sites in the province to oversee critical programs and projects under the department. Gwagube and Dr. Mhaule were accompanied by the province's MEC, Sipho Hlomuka, as they were marveled by the state-of-the-art schools built in the province, which will lead to improved learning and teaching. Sites visited were the Maritime-focused school, which is currently under construction at 80% completion, and Inanda Seminary School, a historic school renowned for producing distinguished women leaders. The officials also observed the National School Nutrition Program at Nsimbini Primary School.
We are saying it's not necessary that our children are pigeonholed into simply the academic stream, that we need to make sure that learners are equipped with skills so that they may be able to leave school so that they can go and acquire these skills and be able to go to the world of work. Here we've got a maritime special school where learners are going to be essentially coming in to specialize particularly in maritime studies. And it's particularly important because the province is looking at the ocean economy, how we can get local learners who come here to fit into the world of work. This is important for me, particularly because South Africa has got one of the highest youth unemployment rates. If we get this right as the Department of Education, then we can have many more learners going into places of work so that we can start to lessen that number and we can have more young people getting into work.
As we're building new schools now, we've got to make sure that they're at the level where learners also who come here to the Maritime School of Excellence can easily go to other parts of the world and easily be able to cope. And that's why it's important that we must build facilities that are of high quality, that are of high technological advancements, so that we're not just building and we're not just essentially educating learners for a South African economy, but also our learners can be able to go out into the world and be able to make whatever of themselves they would like.
The visit by the DBE officials was, however, marred with protest action by members affiliated to the South African Democratic Teachers Union, who are calling for an urgent intervention to the funding situation in schools. The union says most KwaZulu-Natal schools operate as no-fee institutions and therefore depend on the financial allocations that the department is mandated to provide. However, according to the teacher union, the department has failed to fulfill these obligations, leaving schools without the needed resources to conduct internal examinations. Now, they are pleading with the Director General Matanzima Mweli to intervene directly in KZN, engage with the union and help secure the necessary funding for schools. Other critical issues raised by the union that remain unresolved include the non-payment of annual pay progression for educators, outstanding grade R stipends, and the lack of conversion and remuneration for temporary teachers. When we return, we hear about the progress in the National Senior Certificate examinations.
Are you moving house or office? Need a reliable and professional company to assist? Look no further. SADTU Logistics is the one for you. With over 5 years' experience in home and office removals, SADTU Logistics operates throughout South Africa and promises to transport your belongings carefully with ease and proficiency at an affordable price. Contact SADTU Logistics today. Call 071-950-1148 for more information. Alternatively, send an email on info@sadtuagroup.com. SADTU Logistics, moving goods safely from point A to B.
Welcome back. Minister Sibiwe Gwagube says the exam system is holding up well as candidates continue to sit for their final examinations. The National Senior Certificate exams commenced on the 21st of October, with so far few incidents being reported. However, the department has had to respond to a few issues, as highlighted by Gwagube during a media briefing.
5 schools in the Jan Kempdorp area were affected by a taxi strike. However, all candidates from the school were able to write their exams. There was, over the past 12 days, a protest action in Limpopo. However, with the help of SAPS, we were able to get the Matric candidates escorted to school and they were able to write. In KwaZulu-Natal, Eastern Cape, Limpopo and Mpumalanga, we faced disruption that was caused by inclement weather. The department has activated contingency plans and learners were able to write and complete their papers. We also experienced some power outages in some areas, and backup generators were relied on for learners to be able to complete their exam papers. There was one learner who could not finish their paper as they were arrested inside the exam venue as a suspect in an armed robbery case. Cell phones and crib notes were found and confiscated from a very small number of learners, and they are being investigated. There were 2 imposter candidates who were detected and arrested for attempting to take the exam. Of course, we can never have a perfect exam period because we are working with human beings. What is quite important, though, is how well your system responds to such things. And so our operational systems have been designed to preempt and resolve challenges quickly, from distributing of exam papers to the management of security and supervision.
Food poisoning incidents in the country remain a concern for all citizens. Various education departments have temporarily banned the selling of food in and around schools, and Gwagube says the department will be exploring legal options to ensure this becomes a permanent solution.
As a Minister of Basic Education, learner safety is my top priority, and so we are taking this matter extremely seriously. I want to urge communities, parents, vendors to exercise extreme caution when handling, storing, and selling pesticides, particularly those that contain harmful chemicals. The proper handling of pesticides is not just a matter of regulatory compliance, but it's also to ensure that our children are safe in their environments where they learn, where they play, and where they grow. In response to these incidents, my department is working with the Department of Health to develop safety guidelines for schools on how to best mitigate the risk of organophosphate pesticides entering school environments. These will be aimed at ensuring that communities and vendors near schools are aware of the risks associated with hazardous chemicals, especially those used for pest control purposes. I will ensure that these are finalized with my colleague, the Minister of Health, as soon as possible. I will also be exploring all legal avenues within basic education context to ban these pesticides and insecticides from entering into our school environment. It is my view that no school should be permitted to store or use these dangerous chemicals on its premises. Our objective is to create a safe environment for all our learners.
A registration drive of all early childhood development centers is currently underway throughout the country for centers that are operating outside the regulated system. Nationally, at least half of all ECD programs are currently unregistered and are attended by tens of thousands of children. The DBE's Banapili ECD mass registration drive is an important initiative to register ECD programs at scale to ensure every child is receiving quality early learning, development opportunities as a safe and nurturing environment. Since the ECD function shift from the Department of Social Development to the DBE, Gauteng has had a total of 2,380 registered centers, and through the campaign, 30% more ECDs have been registered. Director General Matanzima Mweli speaks about the budget allocation for Grade R.
Grade R has been part of our system for many years. The real issue there is adequacy in terms of funding. Grade R has been funded at 70% of the funding that is accorded to Grade 1. And the issue was that we need to bring parity between Grade R and the rest of the other grades. But the point made by the colleague who asked the question, it's also important. There would be Grade R learners who are outside of the public education system in terms of primary schools, and those learners ordinarily would not be covered in this case. But an overwhelming number of Grade R learners are receiving funding, but at 70%. There is no primary school in our public schooling system which does not have a Grade R. But the issue is to bring about adequacy of funding.
That's how we end this bulletin on the DBE TV News YouTube channel, the DBE's YouTube channel, and on OpenView channel 122. Do remember to send through your stories or comments by contacting us on our X page handle at DBE TV News and on Facebook, DBE TV News. Before we go, the exam season is indeed well underway. If you are in Matric, do remember your future is in your hands. Thank you for watching.